Okay, this is going to be the first of many segments that I've actually been planning for a few years. And I think that this is the time to start this series. And it's called Ansarys Answers, where I take somebody's question and I answer it. And a friend online sent me a link, an eBay link, and he asked me what he thought about that ad. And what it was for property in Costilla County. And so he's basically asking me, do I think it's worthwhile to invest money in Costilla County in buying land? And as it stands right now, they are requiring septic. I'm not sure about a well. And they are citing people for having structures that are less than 600 square feet. We do live in a day and age where a lot of people in the cities live in apartments that are like 150 square feet in some cases, or 300. It's another subject, the whole thing with the freedom to do what you want to do, but I'm just going to stick with the facts here. So until things change, I can't recommend investing money in Costilla County. I still get emails from people that own land. They're very concerned. There's one person that emailed me. He owns some land over by Wild Horse Mesa, which is a beautiful area. And he wants to sell. Or he thinks he might need to sell and invest the rest of his money in another off-grid property in another state in the Southwest. Now, I can't give him advice as to which is better, having never seen the other off-grid location. What I can say is, for now, things are really tough for the people that have been living off the grid. And there's been a few problems that'll also bring up organization and division. There's a Facebook group called San Luis Valley Just Us. And I actually was blocked and banned from that Facebook group. I did a lot to bring coverage to the story, and everybody turned against me. The community they did a great job at creating division just for fun. And in my opinion, this was about class, who has the money, and this is about racism. And I don't know if Louis Bacon, the conservationist that bought 175,000 acres in the Sangredo Cristo mountain range area in 2007, to turn around in 2012 and give half of it to the federal government. You might want to know this guy's a criminal. You might want to know this guy is the top hedge fund manager in Wall Street. And so, a lot of that money may have been obtained through insider trading. So it's very possible that a Wall Street criminal, basically paid the government back. Well, this Louis Bacon is also going to be building a sawmill in Blanca, Colorado. Sawmills would really help build nice homes, wouldn't they? Nice homes like Tim Liggett's. So it's possible that the county has been paid off by certain interests to sweep the area of its residents. In the meantime, Maria Martinez and a few others, they watch this channel religiously to keep up to date with everything that I'm saying. They're constantly insulting, alleging that I'm a racist, and not looking at the good deeds that I've done, just trying to tear me down like this is fun, like this is normal for elderly people and other people that live in a small town, just to bash people that move in. And so until that problem is dealt with, and when I mean dealt with, like new people in the county, a new land use officer. Well, in particular, you have the office there in San Luis. And Matt Valdez, I'm not really going to get into that, but their previous, I'm not really sure his exact title, but the job that Matt Valdez had. So land use coordinator. He's also on the planning commission. So he's been replaced, and they're hiring a new one, and they may have already done it. Colleen Romero interviewed for the job. She is one of the two, along with Cruz Soto, that have single-handedly walked on people's private property with guns, and they have told them they have 10 days to leave. Again, these are private lots. Some people own them outright, and some people pay per month. And this is basically in the middle of nowhere. And they're booting people off that don't have septics, even though that wasn't required before. Compost toilets, not allowed. Other eco-friendly things, not allowed. They act like they don't even know what it is. They act like they don't really know about off-the-grid living. They're just there to say, you can't do this unless you get this, this, and this. And so that's there to make sure that the people that are living in Costilla County have a certain amount of money. I'm not involved in the marijuana trade, but since marijuana has become legalized, the state of Colorado has seen a huge surge in its migration. I believe, I guess in 1 year, 100,000 people moved to Colorado? Yeah, I saw a headline like that recently. So there's massive growth to Colorado, and I wasn't drawn to Colorado because of the marijuana. I was drawn to Colorado because of the affordable land, the potential to own my own home and be able to afford that land and afford the materials and afford the permits. So permits, you're looking at several $1,000s, got to save, fundraise for that, or make the money some way, save up for it. Then you have the land. The land is the cheap part, but you got to save the money for the permits, and you need the building material. But in the old days, a few permits would be enough. The problem that people have reported is that by going down and doing the right thing and getting their permits, they put themselves on the radar, and the code enforcement officers kept coming back and back and back. And so the fact of the matter is, for years, people lived out there relatively in peace. And it wasn't really until this year, a couple years after they changed the land use code, where they said, yay, RVs 2 weeks only. And then before they completely took that out of land use code, they just stopped issuing the camping permits. And so they've acted in a legal way, and no one's done a thing about it. Open criminality and intimidation of the press. They asked me to turn off my cameras during the September 9th Planning Commission. Cruz Soto followed me when I drove out of town last time. Of course, I did joke on Facebook about, megaphoning San Luis as a joke. It also could have been, a coincidence. But he followed me, I left town, and then he drove back. So that would just, let me know, hey, Alex, I'm watching you, don't do anything stupid, which, I understand. But they don't like me. They don't like the fact that I reported on this. I've also mentioned in other podcasts that, other people that have reported on the story, they haven't really dealt with, well, what's the solution? How do we help these people? I've seen people post really rude comments in the section saying, you need to do this. Just stand, like really armchair intellectual stuff. The reality is we got the story out there, and higher courts, lawyers did not get involved. The lawyers want to get paid. The ACLU isn't interested, and the media never seems to get the full story right. And the last media reports that came out of Pueblo more or less seem to side with Costilla County. Now, there are some micro-conspiracies at play concerning some of the other people that I stayed with and, try to bring light to their situation. And all the people that I talk to say that these individuals are siding with the county. And a lot of people think that that she has been paid off by the county. I'm not subscribing to that, but she, the founder of the SLV Just Us group, has acted in a manner that has led to people that she has been very close to, but is no longer close to. She's led them to believe that she has been paid off by the county. My take is this person likes drama and doesn't really have empathy for other people's feelings, so that's why she will allow for her own entertainment on the SLV Just Us Facebook group people to come in, slander, start fights, verbally, race bait. I mean, that's not things that you allow in your Facebook group. And you never allow people in your Facebook group to call for violence. And in that period of September, I raised some concerns and said, this is going to be used against you, the whole group. These people aren't even in Costilla County. Somebody was posting some fake account about, let's just disarm them. And they reprinted that little paper, Maria Martinez, Ley Sierra. And so I get called a conspiracy theorist by Chloe. She didn't say it, but I felt that she was thinking it because she didn't act on my concerns. And so, Alex is just concerned about nothing. And she never said you were right, which I always took note of. This was some weird ego thing, control thing. And I think that I was seen as a threat. I'm not in the Bernie Sanders thing. And to a lot of other people, I'm not on board the whole be afraid of the Islamic invasion. I don't race bait. I wish we can all just live together in peace. But there was a lot of racial tension regarding this whole thing. And towards the end, because it's not just the county that I was frustrated with. There were people out there that were associated with Roger Marsh, who was a wannabe militia founder who failed miserably wherever he went. People actually have emailed me. His son has even emailed me. And they all told me what a bastard Richard Marsh was. And I knew he was a bastard. And I called him out for being an insightful drunk. Yet I watched people that I stood up for back this dude up. Stay seated as he commanded people. And so I saw their sheep-like nature. And some of the people that, and I'm not bashing the whole off-the-grid community. I'm discussing something that was troubling on one particular night. It's like, wait a minute, what's happening to my friends? They don't see this guy as a setup. This is not a good sign. Now, at this time, a lot of the, Islamic hysteria started to erupt again. And there were some people that added me on Facebook that were talking about, well, no Syrian immigrants come here, we're just going to shoot them. And these are people that I've never met. But there were people that added me on Facebook that found my work online, but we had never met. And see, the issue is when you try to raise awareness to something on the internet alone in your groups based on Facebook and it's public and you have infiltrators, you're limited. People should have meetings and people shouldn't wait for some militant alpha male like Roger Marsh to say that we're going to have a meeting. I suggested we have a meeting at the Fort Garland Community Center. And she just looked at me with no response. Again, it was like this weird power play. Like literally, no, it shouldn't just be Facebook. We should have a meeting. So Roger Marsh rides in, and people got behind that. And I think this person was excited by the rhetoric of Roger Marsh. Her response initially when he started to say that, this is just getting interesting, was very sad to see. And so when you allow people to take an unofficial leadership position and then something centralized like a Facebook group where people control it and they pressure people for being controversial and arguing, but they allow the haters to come in and just disrupt everything, you have a serious problem. When something happens and you have a planning commission and people realize something's wrong, they need to gather at that moment and have a meeting. And what I saw were people trying to control the whole thing. And not just her, another person. It was all about them and their thing. And I did see people try to steer things, this is just about us. And not realize the disruption that they were causing. So what's the case now? Well, it's winter. And a lot of people have been pushed off the land. So they're in different locations. They're in different counties. But there's a lot of people that are within the general area here in the American Southwest. Some people went down south. Some people were at the border of Mexico. Some people were in northern Colorado and Montrose. I'm over in Taos County or in that general area of rural New Mexico. And so we haven't left. And there are people that are planning to come back in the spring. And the question is, what are they going to change over the winter with a land use code? With a land use code book? Are they going to change it officially so you have to have a septic? Do you have to have a well? Do you have to have a permit for an electric system? There were concerns about them having to come out and inspect your solar and having to have a certain amount. So we don't know where they're going to take it. What I can say is no higher courts have stepped in since Neil Taylor, by the way, was arrested illegally for free speech, telling Rick Rodriguez to fuck off, and he threatened to tase him if he didn't put his hands behind his back. You can find that in the Costilla County playlist series. Most of you should have already seen that material. Just follow the link which pops up at the end of the video. Or find it on my front page, go to the playlists, and look for Costilla County. There's a series of playlists on my front page if you go to the home page. AlexAnsary.tv is down for remodel. It's going to be back with a exclusive first of its kind forum. Then the comment section's going down because I want to encourage us to get outside the YouTube, Google box, Facebook box, and have a real conversation on a real website for those that have the attention span. Okay. And so I think Costilla County is worth investing in. And I don't see how they would be upset with people moving in and providing more tax dollars unless there's someone behind the scenes that has paid them a certain amount. And it is on record that Louis Bacon gave them tens of thousands of dollars for their economic development center or zone or committee. And they were the ones, ironically, that were interviewed on the La Raza Leaning OPB documentary on San Luis, pushing their version of reality and history, minimizing what those that came before them did to the Native Americans. And so I was thinking, as I exposed it for the first time in September, they're probably getting writers and like a counter journalism insurgency to attack us. And so Devin Pignon came on the scene, called me a white supremacist, wrote a very detailed, grammatically sound, something you would expect from a professor using his intellect to defame an innocent person. And then you have Maria Martinez taking pictures of people that didn't even say a single word and publish them in their paper, hiding the fear of a gringo invasion. So all this I documented, and I'm telling you, the community did not come together and really do this. It was infiltrated from different sides. And again, you have people that just aren't able to, I got to pick my words carefully, come together, get organized, think beyond their own little box and their own little idea of community, which was the case with this woman running the group. Her idea of community was anything happening within a few feet of her and the men around her. Those are her community. And it's all temporary. Like, maybe we'll like you today, maybe we won't tomorrow. Use you and abuse you. Meanwhile, pushing a micro-socialist economy based on a credit system, which can work if it's done right, not if you're modeling it off of some of these other things. It works in some cases, in other cases it doesn't. The real issue is property rights. When you divert people's attention away from property rights to your own, personal fantasy, and she was also heard saying, oh, I want to go down in history. And so the problem with Costilla County is we have no leadership, we have no organization, we have no cooperation, we have no respect. A lot of the people that were emailing me concerned about their property, they never showed up to the meetings. A lot of them were afraid. They're stuck in fear. They haven't realized that by staying in their scared little boy, little girl mindset, and look, I've met a few people and those men were nice. And there were other people that acted like they were just concerned about themselves. They weren't understanding, like, no, we really need to contact the media. This is serious. But I'm not blaming them, because a lot of people came here to get away from it all. And that was the major challenge. How do we bring forth a community in which many of them are off the grid without the internet? That was the beauty of me, her, and some of the others coming together and sending flyers out. Well, physically delivering flyers. We brought the people. We brought the people to the meeting, the planning commission, where people said, no, don't do this. Don't throw us off our land. So since that meeting and since that exposure, we're talking San Francisco Gate, we're talking davidike.com, we're talking the Washington Times, we're talking Natural News, we're talking offgridsurvival.com, we're talking amtvmedia.com. We're talking about many, many websites. We're talking about Colorado Public Radio. We put all that info out there, and it seems that the world was just too busy with its own problems. And it seems that we're in a world where if someone's going, well, if I got to pay thousands of dollars, why shouldn't you? That's the nature of the slavery. That's the nature of the slave think that dominates our culture, that dominates our society. And when you live in a world where people say, oh, the vets, they kicked a 65-year-old man off his property. He ain't growing weed up there. He's got like 15 acres, actually, several pieces of property. His cabin wasn't big enough, and it didn't have a septic. So he got the notice, and that's Daryl Carter. How many of my YouTube viewers sent that story out and got back to me? So I lost a lot of respect for my listeners and my viewers. I'm not here to stroke your ego. I'm very disappointed that people that claim that they like the Mountain Man series didn't do jack for Daryl Carter. That's a disgrace. One asshole out there, what's your name, Dan in Colorado? This guy would just send mean emails. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. Well, I'm sorry, you're not being entertained. Aren't you a fucking asshole with psychological issues? Don't throw your stuff at me, dude. But you do know how to destroy your friendships, and I'm sure this is just the latest in a long string. You need to know when you're being psycho. I mean, is it Asperger's? But I've seen a lot of disturbed people, and some people were posting racist things about Hispanics and Mexicans. Like, who are you? Are you guys part of the problem too? Sabotage, defamation. Yeah, make it look like I have a white supremacy audience. Yeah, great, guys. That was just brilliant. Now, people normally don't post racist things in my comment section. All of a sudden, it's coming out. Well, maybe they start having feelings. Emotional retaliation. That's not good. That's not good. But do I feel that the white people, the gringos as they call them, Anglos, do I feel, this whole wave of new residents disturb the locals? Absolutely. I'm staying away from certain allegations that I may have made in the past. And I have tried to be respectful to the authors of San Luis with hopes that maybe one day we could unite if there was something that we needed to unite around, which is why I try to be as polite as I can and not make some of the allegations that I made in the past. But I've heard about high-level corruption with this county and other things, and a lot of people repeat things that aren't necessarily true, but all the signs have been sent that, they don't want them here. And as far as all the different reasons, better grab a pen and better grab a piece of paper. And we're not really going to go over all those reasons and speculate over all those reasons, but we talked about a few. And we did talk about the fact that they do fear that there is a large group of people coming in solely to grow marijuana because some people have done it. Now, others have said that they were already growing marijuana before the newcomers, and so it's feared that this is like infringing on their territory. What I want to say to those people is that I've gotten to know most of the people on some level that came to that meeting. And I don't, maybe someone growing 1 plant, 2 plant, but like a large scale marijuana farm, nobody that I know of was even at any of the meetings. And I'm saying that dead seriously. Have I met people out there and seen a total of 3, only 3 pot farms? But they're out there. I just don't have those friends. You're going to hear from me also later why I think that some people that their whole life is about pot are some of the dumbest people that you will find on the planet. It's very unfortunate that just because I occasionally use marijuana, that they've put me in this chronic pothead category with everybody else. They know nothing about me, Maria Martinez and Devin Pignon. I assume that they think that I'm a dog in their racial hierarchy as well. As much as they hate whites, I'm sure they see me as lower than that. So this is what we're dealing with. And I think the best thing for people that have a serious interest in Costilla County, if you have land, hold on to your land and develop it how you can. Because when there's a major crisis in this country and we need to get away from certain things, if it's something really big, I would think that the code enforcement officers and just law enforcement in general would have better things to do, like dealing with people being hurt or kidnapped, like the things that you would see in a meltdown of society. Depending on the event. It could be a power outage, it could be a war, it could be a major thing that a lot of people aren't ready for. So at that point in time, and this is important that I move on with my conversation, at that point in time, it doesn't matter. You go to where your home is. So I would develop a fort, but I wouldn't, or a cabin or a home or whatever. Whatever you can afford. Some of you can't afford to play the game unless they're really going to do this crazy thing and require you to have a well, which I've heard that the guy that comes out from Alamosa that signs the paperwork for the well, they're not going to just give everybody a well permit. So we're really going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see what happens, what they do, and then go from there. But the residents of Costilla County, for the most part, I don't see others blogging. I don't see other websites starting up. I don't see other people putting up the effort. And I see people that have contacted me with their own agenda, with no real respect for me or the work that I do. I have found a lot of them to be only interested in themselves and not even bothering to ask me how I'm doing after all I've done to expose the stuff in Costilla County. They're a lot like Portlanders. And because of that, I'm not going to bend over backwards for the current residents of Costilla County. They haven't shown me that they really give a shit about me. So as far as you potential new residents, I've talked about wanting to do an off-grid studio. I do plan to stay in this area, and I do think there's going to be more people coming. Because I did not grow here to grow marijuana or come here. I haven't discounted northern New Mexico as a place to get land. And so, I've heard a lot of bad things. I'm a little hesitant to go to the Mesa because of the movie Off the Grid Life on the Mesa. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be around those types of people. If you've watched the movie Off the Grid Life on the Mesa, I re-uploaded it just so you knew that there was a movie that painted off the grid living in a negative light, where there's other versions of off the grid living that you could see, where people are growing vegetables and they're not stealing water from the river or from the town well, where they get water from somewhere else or pay for it and bring it in. Other means, other than the current, ways that some people have been doing it, or to build something, or to paint art in the desert, and maybe take that over to Jaroso, or Santa Fe. I think it's a very spiritual place. And I think it's very sad that people laugh at my commentary on my passion on this land. And so I wouldn't give up on Costilla County. I would honestly tell you this is a situation in late 2015. Next year is going to be a whole different thing. We've already put this place on the map. People are going to be coming out here next year. There's going to be a situation where more and more people are going to be coming out. At some point, residents need to get registered, and an aspect of the community that believes in the system needs to work peacefully with the system and speak cordially and politely and go to San Luis and get involved in the planning commission and go to the county commissioner meetings and speak for your 3 minutes. You need to know that nobody's doing that. Very few are. You need to know that there is very little dialogue going back and forth. No one's writing a newsletter. It's completely quiet. It is completely quiet. And this is not how you get things done. It's wintertime. Just because it's winter doesn't mean that we can't be blogging or writing articles. Just everything went quiet. And here's the thing. It's cold. And there's a little bit of snow. But the roads are not impossible to travel on at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of snow coming in right now for the Christmas holiday and going into Saturday. But for the most part, the roads have been clear. And so no one's sending me video. Some people, of course, don't want to have too much direct association with me because of my bad name in the county. And by the way, just so you know, they started a rumor saying I called them dirty Mexicans and kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, taking what I said completely out of context and not even taking the time to really sift through my whole channel and find out if that's the kind of person that I am. And so because of that propaganda, it worked on some people. In addition, I'm outspoken about what I believe in. And I do not tolerate this racist ideology that some people have. And there are some people that live off the grid that are extremely stupid, that are on the Trump train, that are into partisan politics or listening to Alex Jones, and their minds have been contaminated. And there's also a number of veterans that have been traumatized from the war, but they're still not really looking at the big picture. They're looking at the small picture and they're not realizing how certain groups on the planet are being demonized. So they alienated me. They alienated my support for them. Because I came here to get away from racism because of my background. And the last thing that I want to do is help anyone that's buying the bullshit from the mainstream media. For now, that's it for me. I'm Alex Ansarys signing off for December 24th, 2015.